Hey, what's up, guys? It's Christopher Weaver from Fitness Achieve Personal Training coming at you today. Listen, I'm going to be doing a series of short videos, hopefully short videos, on triathlon racing on a budget. I pride myself as being a very budget-minded and trendy, thrifty triathlete. One of the questions I get quite often is whether or not somebody can be a competitive triathlete without spending a ton of money on equipment. And the answer is absolutely yes. I'm going to share some of the tips that I practice with my own triathlon racing, and also some of the things that I've also read about other people doing. So in this first video, might be a little bit longer than the subsequent videos, but I'm going to address two different areas that I found are pretty economical ways that you can improve your racing times, can improve your performance in triathlon. So let's go ahead and get started. The first area actually is the least expensive thing that you can do to improve upon your triathlon performance. You guys ready for this? Is improve your fitness levels. Okay? I can't tell you how many people I see that I've trained with, that I've raced against, that, man, for the last 3 years they've been training at the same intensity level that they've been training at since they first started. You know, they're the zone 2 beasts. And not that I'm saying that there's anything wrong with training in zone 2, or at least the majority of your training being kind of zone 2, zone 3 level training. Man, you don't want all of your training to be zone 2 stuff, okay? You want to start adding some of that speed work, some of that zone 3, some of that zone 4, and higher, your VO2 max level training stuff as you progress towards your A races, is what we call in the triathlon world, which is just basically any races you're going to do. You should want to, let your training perpetually work towards gaining in intensity as you get closer to your race, okay? Because it's like this, man. You can't race any faster than what you train at. So if you're training, at a 10-minute mile on the run, guess what happens when you go out and start racing? That first mile, you might can run an 8-minute mile. But that muscle memory stuff's going to kick in, guys, and you're going to be right back to running, 10-minute miles before you know it, for the next couple of miles. So, I mean, if you want to race faster, you have to train faster. So work towards improving your fitness level. That's going to mean everything, okay? Because it doesn't matter if you have a $100 bike or a $100,000 bike. If your fitness level is crap, man, your performance is going to be crap regardless of what equipment that you're using. So, hire yourself a coach. One of the areas of debate is whether or not online coaching is a viable means of improving your triathlon performance. Absolutely. Absolutely. Hire yourself a coach. Hire yourself a coach. You know what I mean? I look at it like this. Online training is better, or online coaching is better than no coaching at all, especially for your first few years in getting into triathlon. And actually after that too, I mean, you plateau, it's just like weight training or anything. You'll get to a point that you plateau, you're going to see results, for your first couple of years, and then you'll plateau off. So when you start plateauing, even if you're at the elite level triathletes have coaches. Elite level triathletes sometimes have online coaching. So, look at it as an option, because if you do go the coaching route, you can save yourself a lot of money by looking for an online coach. And just look for an online coach that's going to help you develop a personalized training program that's going to take input from you, that's going to get, your old results from races, it's going to get, where you're at in terms of pacing and all of that stuff, and they're going to incorporate that into your training program. So I promise you, you're going to get some decent results from having, any kind of coaching. And the upside to the online thing is it's considerably cheaper. I know it's not across the board. The triathlon coaches are this cheap, but a lot of coaches are willing to do the online stuff for around half of what they would do the one-on-one in-person training. So look at it as an option. Also, too, man, just read. God, I can't tell you how many triathlon-specific books that I've read. Literally probably over 100, and I still read them. I still read them today, just trying to stay up to date on new training modalities and things like that are coming up. So read, man. There's some great triathlon specific training books out there that you can read. Joe Friel, and there's some other guys. Chris Carmichael even has a Time Crunch Triathlete book that's out there. That's a great book that I actually have incorporated a lot of his training recommendations into my own training, and I've definitely seen some results from that. So that is an option there. But man, start adding interval training into your workouts. If you're beyond your first year, start doing some of the interval stuff. Start incorporating some speed work into your training. I promise you, you're going to see results from that. And it's going to be positive results. Yeah, you're going to be tired as crap at the end of your workout, but you're going to see some positive results on race day. Trust me, because I'm telling you, from 1 year, I went from a middle of the pack guy that busted my butt trying to, finish top 3 in my age group, to being somebody that on a local and regional level can compete for the overall win. I mean, in my last 2 sprint distance triathlons, I finished 2nd overall. And I promise I attribute my increased performance to beginning to add interval training into it. And the great thing about interval training is you can get really high intensity workouts in a fraction of the time. Yeah, you need to go out there and load the miles into your legs. You need to go out there and do, 10+ mile runs every now and again. And it's fine to do that once a week. But there's a couple of other, run workouts that you're going to be doing in the week. One of those needs to have some interval work done in it, even regardless of what stage that you're at. Even if you're in, the endurance building or the base, foundational period of your training, of your macro cycle. You still can incorporate some interval stuff in there. It's just going to be at a lesser intensity than what it would be, your pre-race workouts, as you're, working towards peak fitness for your race, a couple of months back from your A race. So look at that as an option, and also look into some inexpensive coaching as an option. Hey, hit me up, man. I'm definitely down with doing some beginner and intermediate triathlon training. So you can hit me up on my website. I'll give you a link to that at the end of the video here. But that's it. That's the most effective and least expensive thing that you can do to improve your times in triathlon, is increase your fitness levels, okay? Number 2, this is the biggie. Let's go ahead and tackle it and get it out of the way. How do you save money? How do you take, a budget-minded approach to the bike segment of triathlon? This is a biggie because, dudes, I've been at races. I'm talking about like local races, local sprint races where guys are racing on $5,500, $6,000 bikes. Makes no sense to me. People spend more money on their rear, wheel, their carbon fiber disc wheel, than what I spend on my entire bike. And then, if your training's where it should be, you're going to be passing that guy. I race on a bike that I paid $400 for brand new. Swear to God. Bought it online. Now, all of you local bike shop guys, you're going to be cussing me out right now. I know. But we're talking about racing on a budget. And if you're racing on a budget and you don't have a lot of money, you have to look for options outside of the local bike shops. I love local bike shops. I have relationships with local bike shop owners. Totally down with them. I do everything that I can to promote those guys, via my social media, sites and things like that. I try to buy all my accessories and things like that from it. If people are needing bike fit and stuff like that, man, I refer them over to those guys. But I'm telling you right now, if you're looking to get into racing and to be competitive as cheaply as you possibly can, you got to consider the online sources for your bike, your bike parts and your bike. So, do your homework, research, because here's the thing. If you've only got money to buy one bike, don't waste your time buying a tri-specific bike. Don't buy a time trial bike. Buy yourself a road bike, because road bikes are much more applicable to different conditions and training conditions and situations that you're going to encounter through your training than what a tri-bike is going to be. A tri-bike is not good for climbing. If you show up at a group charity ride on a tri-bike, man, I don't want to be you, because those die-hard bike guys are certainly going to give you a hard time. So get yourself a road bike. And the thing is, is entry-level road bikes are considerably cheaper than what entry-level tri-specific bikes are going to be. So get the road bike. Look online, man. Figure out what you want. You need to figure out the size of bike you need. For me, I'm 5'8", 54 centimeters. You know, bike is what I get. The medium frame size. You know, whatever. There's charts online that you can find that you can, you know, take your height and compare that to what size bike that you would need to buy. Ideally, that's going to be a minimal, you know, starting point for you. Of course, if you go to a bike fitter and things like that, you know, he may say, no, you need a 56 centimeter bike versus the 54, but you're going to be in the ballpark, you know, if you go by these charts that are out there. And a lot of the bike manufacturers, a lot of the bike websites, things like that you might potentially get your bike from are going to have those charts on their websites. And also have customer support that you can call and be like, hey, you know, this is my build, you know, you can take your inseam, all that stuff, and you can give it to them and they can try to help, you know, as best they can from a distance to set you up on the size of bike that you need. You know, you do have the shipping involved. A lot of times these bikes are not going to be coming to you assembled, so you got to look at that. And that might be a way. Most local bike shops are fine putting bikes together that you buy from online sources, you know. Contact them ahead of time and ask around, you know. And if you don't know what you're doing, these guys will put it together for you. They can help you out, you know. I mean, they're going to charge you. It's not going to be free. Chances are you got a buddy that's into biking or something that can give you a hand and get you on your way, you know. Or you know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that can hook you up with this other guy who lives in a trailer park down the street that can get you, you know, they can put your bike together for you. So work it out however you got to work it out. Again, for me, I searched for 6 months for a bike, and I actually looked online for 6 months to find a used bike. I had a $500 budget to buy a bike, and if you've looked into trying to buy a road bike or to try to buy a tri-bike, you know $500 ain't squat when it comes to trying to get a bike. It just isn't. Used or new, you know, it doesn't matter. It's not a lot of money. And I knew that going into it, so I just had to be creative, you know, and I had to be very patient and I had to be very methodical in my searching. So through my searching, what I found was that entry-level bikes are entry-level bikes. It doesn't matter what the name is on the side of the bike. You know, Trek entry-level bikes are very comparable to what Giant's entry-level bikes are, which are very comparable to, you know, what, believe it or not, Schwinn's entry-level bikes are. Schwinn's entry-level bikes might be there. It might be Schwinn's mid-grade bikes are the same as entry-level bikes. But seriously, specialized, you know, whatever. Entry-level bikes are entry-level bikes. You're only going to get so much for entry-level bikes, and entry-level bikes are usually $1,000 and down. So that was something that I learned. And with entry-level bikes, you're typically going to get a steel frame, or you're going to get a, you know, a lower grade aluminum frame. That's your only two options. You're not going to be getting, you know, a carbon fiber frame for a bike that's under $1,000. So don't even worry about trying to find a carbon fiber bike, right? All right. If you're not concerned about the name on the side of your bike, there are alternative manufacturers out there. Because here's the secret. Most of your frames, regardless of what the name is on the side, are all produced in the same factory. I think, and I'm not exactly sure, but I think somewhere along the way I read that there's 3 big bike manufacturers out there in China or somewhere in Asia that make bikes basically for every bike manufacturer, unless you get into your specialty bikes, and until you get on up into, you know, the higher end bikes of each of the companies, each of the big companies, you know. So if you're not that concerned about the name on the side of the bike, there's some really good alternative companies out there. Schwinn is one. You know, Schwinn kind of gets a, believe it or not, Schwinn at one point used to be, you know, kind of the go-to bike, man. I mean, it was, you know, where you went to, especially for what originally was American-made bikes. I mean, that was the top company that you had out there. They did quality stuff. But then, you know, times changed and they've kind of lost their credibility. They've lost their street cred, man. They're not as valued as what they used to be, but they still do, man. I mean, I've seen full-blown carbon fiber bikes that Schwinn's produced, you know, that are $700,000-$800,000 bikes, you know, that are top-of-the-line stuff. But other than that, Dawes is a company that I've seen people race on. I've looked at the bikes up front. You know, I actually considered buying a Dawes bike. What I've heard is Dawes is kind of the UK's version or Canada's version of Schwinn. And and I don't know how true that is, but it's just kind of like the bigger manufacturer, I guess in Canada. I can't remember if it was UK or Canada that Dawes comes out. I know that Dawes has the maple leaf on there, so maybe it's Canada. I don't know. Do your research if you're going to buy a Dawes and figure out where the hell they come from. But you know, it's an alternative brand. Motivacane is actually a brand that's been around forever, and they make quality stuff. Again, man, you can get really high-end bikes that are made by Motivacane, and it's good stuff, man. From everything I've seen, you know, I've looked at the bikes, you know, I've talked to people that ride those bikes. Good stuff out there, and there's a lot of parts and stuff like that available for them. The bike that I had is from a company called Forge. They only make one road bike, one size. If you're much taller than 5'8", guess what? You can't buy my bike because they only make that one size, and it happens to be a 54 centimeter bike, which is what I needed, so it was really convenient for me. So here's the things you got to look for when you're buying a bike, okay? Don't worry about the name. Seriously. If you're looking to save money, don't worry about the name. Always take the used routes, because you know you may find somebody that has a really great, you know, entry-level Trek bike that'll sell it to you for $400 or $500, and there you go, man. You're sitting pretty. You got a nice bike. But you need to look at the component groups. That's where the biggest expense comes into bikes, is the component groups that are on there. It's all the accessories, man. It's like going out and buying a Ford Focus, which I do drive a Ford Focus. You can get a base level Ford Focus for like $12,000, $13,000. But where you end up spending 20 grand on is all the stuff that they put on that base bike, or that base, you know, Ford Focus. So, same thing with bikes. Entry-level bikes, you know, my bike was around about $400 by the time I paid shipping to get it. The component group I had was, you know, Shimano's entry-level, lowest grade component groups, rear derailleur, front derailleur. It does have the integrated shifters and brakes, so that's something to look for. That's very convenient. You know, cheaper bikes or lower-end bikes, you know, there's still some out there that have the down tube shifters. Man, if that's your thing, go for it. You're certainly old school. You're more old school than I am, and I'm an old man at this point, man. This year I'll be racing in the Masters division, if that gives you an indication of how freaking old I am. So, down tube stuff, dude. That was like back when I was first learning to ride a bike. So if you're down with the down tube shifters, you're gonna save yourself a couple of $100 potentially. So yeah, look at the component groups. Shimano components are great. Suntour, I think, still makes some stuff. I don't know. I mean, every now and again I see some people with that. But usually you're either going to get Shimano or you're going to get SRAM. So, SRAM. How the hell do you say that? SRAM, right? S-R-A-M, SRAM. Anyway, I've never used SRAM, but I've seen a lot of people do. I really like the little thumb things that they have going on. I have the Shimano, so you know I'm clicking in to go up, and I'm pushing my thumbs down on top of my hoods to go down gears. But you know, those are the two big companies that you're going to see. Shimano, you know, they start at the 2300 series. I think is their lowest grade of road components. Now they have even lower grades that they're going to put on, you know, bikes that you'll see at Walmart or something like that. You know, I don't even know what those derailleurs and stuff are called. They don't even have anything on there. They're just kind of like plastic and look like, well, they look like components that would be on a bike that you would buy at Walmart. But you know, and then it progressively goes on up. I guess Soras, they're next to the lower level, and then you get into the Tiagra and the 105 and Dura-Ace and all that stuff, and then on up. But anyway, you know, look at the component groups. I mean, obviously, if you can get 105s, Dura-Ace, you know, if you're going to go with the Shimano stuff, that's great, man. I got 2300 series components on my bike. I've been riding my bike for 3 years. I've been racing my bike for 3 years, and I've been racing it really hard. I live in western North Carolina, which is very mountainous. It's one of the most mountainous areas in the southeast. In fact, you know, I mean, we have, you know, 5,000-foot elevation peaks around here, you know, that we climb. So, and I've put the thing through some rigorous rides, man. I mean, I've probably put close to 6,000-7,000 miles on my bike, I would say, at this point. And I've raced it in Ironman distance races. I've raced it in half Ironman distance. I've raced it in sprint distance. And you know, I can't complain. I can't complain with it. I mean, it's held up. I haven't really experienced any shifter problems, any derailleur problems. I mean, you just keep everything tuned up and keep things clean. You know, is kind of the biggest issue that a lot of guys run into is they don't clean their stuff. They don't take care of their stuff. And if you got lower end stuff, you really got to stay on top of the maintenance. You got to take care of it. You know, run it in every year for a tune-up and stuff, man. Just keep things happening that way. But that's some tips for the bike. You know, just search around. Look at your online sources. You know, eBay, potentially. You know, there's bike stores that are on eBay, or eBay stores, I guess I should say. People that only sell bikes, stuff like that on eBay. Roadbikeoutlet.com actually has some pretty cheap stuff. Like I said, Forge.com can hook you up with a dealer. Forge is the company that I went with. They make mountain bikes. They make the one road bike, which is the one I have. Again, it only comes, or at least last time I checked, only came in the one size, which is what I have, which is the equivalent of a 54 centimeter bike. So like I said, if you're 5'9" or above, you're probably out of luck with that size bike. Be a little too ill-fitting. I wouldn't try to conform to the size of the bike. You know, you got to get a bike that fits you. Otherwise, you're going to be miserable with it, and you're going to be buying a new bike soon. And again, search the used market. You know, and don't worry about buying a tri-specific bike to get started with. I mean, you can race and be competitive on a road bike that you slap on some you know, some clip-on aero bars on. You absolutely can. I mean, the geometry is a little bit different. You don't quite get the same aero positioning as you would on a tri-bike. You know, the geometry is different. You're going to be sitting a little further back on a road bike, but you know, we'll get into all that stuff in the next few videos. But you know, those are just a couple of tips, man. Fitness level. Work on your fitness levels. Consider getting yourself you know, an online coach, or even an in-person coach. If you know somebody that's a really good triathlete, you know, the local fast guy, man, see if you can tag along with some of his training workouts and stuff like that. Join a tri club. A lot of local tri clubs get together and they have people that come in and do seminars or do you know, training programs and things like that. You know, just whatever. And you know, I know that the Triathlon Club here in Asheville is like $25 a year. It's minimal, and if you join and pay the $25, then you get to go to all the seminars and the lectures and the talks and the training seminars and all that stuff that they have, and even the mock workouts they do. They do like transition clinics and things like that. So that's also an option, you know. But you know, work on increasing those fitness levels. Start integrating some interval work into your workouts, man. Don't be afraid of speed work. Don't be afraid of it, especially if you're beyond that first year. You know, if you got over a year of experience, start integrating some speed work in. Read books. Get online. Read online. You know, read what the professional triathletes have to say. Read what the professional coaches have to say. But also listen to what, you know, people in your community that have been in the scene for longer than you have to say. You can gain some valuable, cheap experience from those guys, you know, and girls, you know. So why not use them? They're there, and most people, you know, that are in triathlon, it's a cool thing about triathlon, it's a really close-knit community. People in, you know, the triathlon world are always, you know, pretty forthcoming with the knowledge and stuff that they have. So don't be afraid to ask. Second tip is, with the bike, search used. Go for a road bike. Don't worry so much about getting the triathlon bike. You'll save yourself a ton of money, and you'll be able to use that road bike in more situations and more scenarios than what you will that tri bike. Especially if you live somewhere around here, like where I'm at, where there's a lot of mountains. If you've ever tried to do any climbing on a tri or time trial bike, dude, it ain't happening, okay? And, you know, look at your online sources, roadbike.com, which I've never even bought anything from roadbike.com, so I certainly ain't getting any kickbacks from those guys. I don't know anything about them, but I do know that they have like Motivacane bikes and dolls and stuff like that, and even maybe some even more well-known manufacturers. I'm not sure, but I know that they offer some alternative stuff. Tryforge.com, man. Like I said, if you're a little short dude like me, that bike will probably fit you perfectly. And I can't say enough about how happy I've been with that bike. Now, I can't say that when I see those $5,000 to $6,000 bikes at races that I'm not drooling and want one of those. But you know, hey man, it's awfully fun passing those dudes on my $400 bike, I'm not going to lie. So yeah, those are just some tips. Again, this is Triathlon Racing on a Budget. It's going to be a series of videos, man. I'm really excited about all of it. You know, just the stuff I've learned over my 4 years of doing just triathlon stuff. You know, these are tips and everything that I apply to my own training, my own racing, and, you know, things that those of us in the world of triathlon, you know, go back and forth with. So I'm really excited to share all this stuff with you guys in this series of videos. Like I said, this video is going to be a little bit longer probably than most of them, since we cover those two things and it's two big areas. So anyway, might as well go ahead and plug my book, right? Simply Wellness. Learning to live a wellness-based lifestyle one day at a time. Christopher Weaver BS MA CFT. This thing is available on Amazon.com. It's also available on Kindle. So look it up, man. It's like $10. Got lots of you know, advice for happy living. Got some pretty basic strength and resistance routines and flexibility routines in here. Also talking nutrition. Got some recipes, video links to the exercises that I'm recommending in the book. Certainly can apply to you triathletes and endurance guys out there. Also too, man, I totally do beginner to intermediate triathlon program, triathlon training programs for guys and girls, whatever. Even dogs. The dogs do triathlon? If they do, man, I'm willing to try to train one. So hit me up. Like I said, I do a lot of email and Skype-based stuff these days. So even if you're not in the Western North Carolina area, I still can help you out. I can help you design some pretty effective training routines and get you there. Try to get that PR, man. Try to get you on the podium on the age group stuff. So anyway, hit me up. My website is www.isscertifiedtrainer.com/Christopher Weaver. Also check out my blog. I share tons and tons of tips and all kinds of stuff on there. And you can also well, you can comment on one of my blog posts or something to get in touch with me. But my blog is www.punkrockwellness.blogspot.com. So you can contact me via either of those two. Search Christopher Weaver BS MA CFT online. You get linked into a bunch of different articles and stuff like that I published over the years. So anyway, that's it. This is the first video. So hey, like I always tell you, stay focused and happy training, y'all.